All right, so besides the offseason that Mike Greer went to work and brought a bunch of veterans into this dressing room, the biggest news out of the offseason was the new lease agreement between the San Jose Sharks and the city of San Jose. 2051. It's a long time away.
It is.
But what does that mean for this franchise?
Well, look, we are the San Jose Sharks. That's our first name, if you will. We were born here, we've grown up here, and now we'll be here for at least 25 more years. Hopefully somebody a few years from now will extend that lease from 2051 to something much further than that. If you walk around San Jose, particularly during playoffs, you see how much the fans and the citizens love the Sharks. Most of our players live here, we're part of here. It's just in our DNA. San Jose is a teal town. It is the San Jose Sharks.
No deal is without its difficulties or challenges. What was something that stuck out to you about the difficulties of this and you're particularly proud of getting past?
You know, it seems like this deal took a long time, and I went back and looked at my notes and saw that it's probably more than 5 years from when we first started having this conversation. I think one of the changes was we had a change in administration in San Jose, so priorities of the last administration were not necessarily the priorities of this administration. But in the end of the day, this was a pretty balanced. There, you didn't hear any of the controversy you sometimes hear between sports and teams, even here in the Bay Area. Cities and sports teams don't always do things quietly, if you will. So there were no really major impediments. I think what I liked the best is we said what was most important to us. The city said what was most important to them. They didn't always match. We didn't always agree. But probably the biggest thing was the term. The city really wanted to lock us down for longer than sports teams normally agree to. And in the end of the day, we said, okay, we don't plan to ever go anywhere, so this works for us.
$500 million, $500 million going into SAP.
Yep.
Hasso's going with $100 million of his own. He's already done that before. What is his level of commitment, and how much does it show his level of commitment that he is willing to do what it takes to keep San Jose as one of the top franchises in the NHL?
Look, I'm obviously biased, but I think Hoshida is the best owner in sports. I'm going all the way back to the pandemic, where we kept the doors open and paid people even when we had to shut and couldn't play in our own building. The reinvest, as you said, $100 million in the building over the last little bit less than a decade. We never started with the what are better options. And if you look at it purely financial, there probably are other ways to make money if you want to do that well. It was the figure out how to keep the Sharks here in San Jose, figure out how to make this a top destination for not just hockey, by the way, because at least half these renovations apply to non-hockey things, to music, to corporate events, etc. So that makes negotiation a lot easier when you're doubling down on things that make sense. And the only thing I'll say, which hasn't been said a lot, is from our side, it's at least another $100 million. We won't go beyond that.
All right, well, that's good to hear. What is the top of the list that needed to get done at SAP to get it to where it needs to go?
From a fan point of view, I think the probably number one thing that people recognize is the concourse gets really crowded, particularly when we're sold out, like on the weekends. And so finding ways to, you can't really expand the concourse because we can't make the building bigger than it is now. We're not really adding any square footage to it as well. So finding ways to get people off the concourse and to other levels and maybe create a new level to the building. So we might be going from a one-level building, because there's really only one general available, to a 3 or maybe more level building is the big thing. And then behind the scenes, what fans don't see as much is most of the infrastructure is 30 plus years old. The elevators, the plumbing, the electricity, the backup generator, all those have well past aged out. It happens in your home. You eventually have to replace them. It happened in this bigger home as well. And so a lot of the money is just going to the back end infrastructure.
How much was a factor in, a lot of San Jose Sharks memories have been made, not a lot, all of them have been made in this building. And moving forward, if you change stadiums, some of that is just inherently lost. We've seen it when, the Warriors moved. They've made their own memories at Chase, but Game 7 isn't going anywhere against the Knights. And for the organization to want to stay here, was that something that was important for you guys?
It was. I mean, the very first ever Sharks game, not counting the Cal Palace, of course, which was a temporary home, was played in this building. Of course, there were some memorial games on the road as well, but it's nothing quite like playing in front of your home fans. And the building itself also has really good bones. So the combination of the ghosts of the past years and the fact that this building hasn't aged out yet, it will eventually. 2051, probably can't get any further than that, made us want to go remodel first, build later on.
And build later on is also in The agreement, 2027, that can move a little bit depending on how the negotiations go, but finding a new blueprint, is there somewhere that you guys have kind of brainstormed where that blueprint would be for a new stadium for the San Jose Sharks?
Now, Alan, you're trying to give me a scoop on your show, aren't you? I think the short version of it is the city came to us and said, we do longer term planning. And as we look at how San Jose might be 25, 30 years from now, we've jointly agreed it probably doesn't make sense to try to do another gigantic remodel in the 2040s to extend this beyond 2051.
Right.
So we know there has to be a new arena one day. And if you're a city and you want to do good long-term planning, you want to make sure that you don't make any decision in the next 5 years that prohibits where the next building will go. And so we've given ourselves essentially a year and a half to discuss and create some options.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that came out of the headlines not quite right is we'll know where the new arena is by 2027. And actually what we said is we're going to have some options as to where the new arena is. And I think if you just look at a map of San Jose, it's obvious there are a couple things. Perhaps it'll be in the current location. Maybe the parking lot's behind it. There's a bunch of real estate on the other side of Santa Clara. We can do that. There's some new parcels that have opened up downtown. There's some other things. But the key is, let's give ourselves some options. Let's grade them by what works well, what doesn't work, what work well. And then the city's job, not ours, the city's job is to figure out which ones make sense for long-term planning and protect those so that when the time comes to have the conversation, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, we don't go, uh-oh, there's no place to put an arena.
Well, it's a good thing real estate's so cheap and just easily just go find wherever a plot of land and we'll just go build it there. There's a lot of tape to go through where we get to that point, but I think for a fan perspective to see that not only you're going to renovate this, but know that their team's going to be here for a long period of time is something exciting. And that goes hand in hand with Macklin Celebrini, who just debuted last year, who's already getting the respect of his peers. It's got to be easier to go to the city after the year that Macklin had and where it looks like the franchise is going when you need to make some negotiations.
Of course, the answer is yes. You get a number one draft pick, everyone starts paying attention. And yes, we put Macklin at the center of this, but of course, it's the core. It's this young core that the consensus is the number one overall prospect group as well. And frankly, the prospects, even without young Macklin, if you went down to the Anaheim games as well, you saw that they were pretty good without Macklin, without Will, without Askarov, without Eklund. I mean, there's a long list of under 23, I guess Eklund's now 23, but a long list of under 23 players that show the depth this franchise has.
Yeah.
So I think Macklin, of course, leads the charge. He's the name on the poster, but it becomes a group. And with the vibes around the team so interesting, not just from a hockey point of view, but it just feels like the kids are having, and I hate to call them kids, sorry, but the guys are actually having, they are younger.
They're teenagers.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
They are having fun as well. That just makes it, that puts the aura around it. And of course, everyone then goes, yes, we want the Sharks here.
I think that's important, though. I call them the teal core because there's a core four up in Toronto, the teal core. You got Michael, Sam maybe making the team this year. But when you look at it long term, it doesn't seem like when the Sharks get back to where everyone in this area believes they can go, it's not going to be a short thing. This is sustainable. And you got to be excited from all aspects of an organization that this looks like it's a sustainable thing.
You know, if you roll back the clock 3 years ago when Mike Greer and I first sat down and sort of had a conversation, one of the questions we said is, are we trying to do a quick fix, try to get back to the playoffs as fast as humanly possible, and then maybe miss it the following year, and then maybe get back in again? And do we want to be like some teams are, this a little bit of a chaotic, just miss, just make it, just miss? Or do we want to build it for long-term success where it'll take a little bit longer to get where we want to go, and of course where fans want to go.
Yeah.
But then we can get the consistency that was the hallmark of this team for 20 years. And the answer, of course, everyone can see it now, although I think some people were screaming for the former, get back there faster, was, nope, let's do this the right way. It'll take a little bit longer. We'll have to tear down some things and people want to push us. But doing it the right way means you don't just make the playoffs once, but you make the playoffs for as many years in a row as you possibly can.
How difficult was it to be patient?
You know, I'm not necessarily a patient guy, and sports does not really reward people being patient, so it's hard, but it's the right thing to do.
And now, what's a successful season for the San Jose Sharks here as you enter 2025, 2026?
Sizable progress. We're not really measuring ourselves against everybody else. We're measuring ourselves against ourselves. So the eye test showed you that the team last year was significantly better than the team the year before. Even though the record wasn't that much better, we obviously still finished at the worst team in the NHL. Those are not things that we're proud of by any stretch of the imagination, but the team looked better. Mm-hmm. This year, it's How many more points can we generate? I have no idea what the ranking will be because other teams will be better as well. But the young kids have to take a step forward. The veterans sort of have to show them the way. You know, we weren't great at holding a lead in the third period last year. We can acknowledge that fault as well. We ought to be significantly better there as well. And so if this looks like a sizable jump towards a team, then I think we'll be happy. You know, the stretch goals, something bigger than that, but we'll keep the stretch goals among ourselves.
All right. I appreciate you sitting down with us and going through this. And 2051 San Jose Sharks, at least in the Bay Area.
Sounds good.